Wow, I was just trying to get in my head how much we're going to do on today's show. It's only 28 minutes and 30 seconds. Let's get it going. Dr. Ann Louise Gittleman, best-selling New York Times author, is here to talk about her Fat Flush Kit. It really works. We've had so many compliments on this thing. It's absolutely amazing. And then I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Marks Tingler, prescription drugs versus supplements. Sometimes these are necessary, he said, but sometimes supplements work quite well. Toward the end of the show, I'm going to be teaching you a little bit about, did you know we all have a Superman gene that prevents cancer from forming in our body? It's called the P53 gene. Why doesn't it work in so many people? All that, and I assure you a lot more on today's Know the Cause. My name is Doug Kaufman. For the past 40 years, I've dedicated my life and even my career to finding the root cause of disease. Join me in a team of physicians, pharmacists, and scientists, and soon you too will know the cause. Okay, yes, that is Dr. Ann Louise Gittleman. Thank you for coming in again. And
it's so good to see you.
Sharing your time with us. I'm so excited about what you've developed here. But I just learned the Fat Flush, which was a runaway bestseller, the book you wrote, 2002. 16 years ago, the Fat Flush came out.
And we've just come out with a new Fat Flush Quick Start, which takes the best of Fat Flush and puts it all together in a very easy to follow regimen.
Tell me what Fat Flush was all about, the book.
Detox, and cleaning your liver and cleaning your lymph and making sure that you get rid of all that hanging skin that so many of us women particularly are so concerned about. It's maintaining a program for life where you're eating the right foods, the right fats, the right fiber, the right carbohydrates so that you don't have to worry about being overweight for the rest of your life.
You received a master's in science degree from Columbia. What would your peers there say about the word toxins in your body or detoxifying? Because I know there's a line in the sand. Many of us believe we are toxic. If you're taking medications, if you're eating out of a can or a box, those toxins can accumulate. But yet so many of our friends in academia say, no, that's no problem.
My goodness. I mean, every single day you see articles about what's in the air, the food, the water, the GMOs, the radiation. We live in a toxic environment. It's not just about diet and exercise and willpower anymore. It's about the toxicity of the environment. If you don't take that into consideration, you can't be healthy, nor can you be slim.
Thank you. That's a good point. Go over the products with me. These are, your development, and they're so good. Teach me a little about these.
Well, this is the Fat Flush Kit, and I created it. It is a best-selling product, and it's been on the market for over 15 years.
Oh my gosh.
And it's very interesting because what we find is that many women that are dieting, whether they're doing my Fat Flush program or not, really need something called GLA, gamma-linolenic acid, an essential fatty acid that we've completely forgotten about. It's the best essential fatty acid for hanging skin and for your complexion. Very good for PMS, perimenopause, and menopause. Very important to really promote the production of brown fat, which is important for making you skinny once again.
Do you remember Dr. Tori Hudson? She
Yes,
used to write,
yes.
remember in the Townsend letter, and she was so smart, and she said that between evening primrose oil and the GLA, women really have a good chance at beating not only perimenopause, but menstrual irregularities and so forth. So there's really
and the hot flashes and the night sweats and the inability to sleep at night. And that's also a great diuretic. So GLA is a primary ingredient in the Fat Flush Kit, as is the weight loss formula, which is my very favorite because it's not just for weight loss, Doug Kaufman, it's also for detoxification and support of your liver, which is the most important organ in terms of detoxification.
It really is. So not only losing the weight, following a proper diet, getting exercise and so forth, but then cleansing as this stuff goes through you.
Cleansing and really modifying your blood sugar so it doesn't elevate and you don't get the highs and lows. And what I like about this program, if you take 2-3 times a day, and you'll have to look at the label on the weight loss formula, but I tell my people if you really want to lose your weight, 2-3 times a day, because it gives you a very important amino acid type vitamin called carnitine, and taking at least 1,000 mgs is very important to get rid of everything that you need, from the love handles to the beer belly to anything that's on around your arms. So it's very important to really flush the fat away once and for all.
And then the third
It's a
bottle.
dieter's multi, and
Right.
we need a dieter's multi to kind of give us a low-level amount of vitamins and minerals. When I say low-level, not orthomolecular, so that your liver doesn't have to work harder to detoxify the vitamins and minerals. So you're getting all the basics you need if you are dieting for detox.
I remember reading, it was some big magazine a long time ago about the fat flush. Folks, this created a sensation. This changed the world, the fat flush. Those two words together, fat flush, are so good, and she developed that. And I remember reading that there was like millions of people that were aware of this and reading it and catching on to it. You really...
Well, and it sounds like a fad diet, but it's anything but. It's been on the market for over 17 years. It was first introduced in my first book, which was called Beyond Pritikin, with a one chapter called The 2-Week Fat Flush. We expanded into a whole book.
Yep.
And now what we're finding that even in 2018, we now have the Fat Flush Quick Start, which has taken the best over the years with the recipes, the detoxification, and the supplements you need to be lean in 2018.
The whole program. You can get more information, folks, or order it at Unikey Health, UNIKEY Health.com. Go to the phone number, toll free, 800-888-4353. Dr. Ann Louise Gittleman, it's always a joy. Thank you.
My
for coming.
pleasure.
I'm excited for you. Thank you. Hey, you've had quiche, right? We've all had quiche. What about the crust? Is it on the Kaufman One diet? It is if it's seeds. Let's go over to the kitchen with Lindsay right now.
Hey, I'm Lindsay Crouch, founder of Guiltless Superfoods, here in the awesome Know the Cause kitchen today. Going to show you how to make one of my favorite recipes. Now, this recipe is different because we use this Guiltless 7-seed superfood flour for the crust. This flour is completely yeast-free and phase 1 approved. It's gluten-free, grain-free, yeast-free, and void of any fillers. So what we did first was we went ahead and made our crust. We used about 2.5 cups of flour, coconut oil, sea salt, and eggs. Put it in our KitchenAid mixer, got a big, nice ball of dough, put it right in the middle of the pan, and just pushed it out with our fingers. It's so simple to do. You don't have to roll it out with a rolling pan first or a rolling pin first or anything like that. You actually just form it by hand. And then you pre-bake it at about 400 degrees for about 8 minutes. Next, we're gonna move on to our filling. This is about 6 organic eggs, full eggs with the whites and the yolks. And I'm gonna go ahead and just break those up with my fork. Get some air in there, make them light and fluffy. Next, we're gonna continue with our liquids. We have some almond milk, some non-dairy nut milk. I love the unsweetened almond milk. And then this is some half and half or whipping cream. Is the same thing. It's going to give it that nice buttery rich flavor, but we kind of cut it with the almond milk so it wasn't as much of the big heavy whipping cream or full fat if you cut it with some of the almond milk. Okay, about a half teaspoon of sea salt to season and bring out those flavors, and then the same half teaspoon of black pepper. We're just going to mix that up. We're done with all of our liquid ingredients now. And next we're going to bring in our dry ingredients. Put that there. We have some turkey bacon. This is about 4 slices of cooked and crumbled turkey bacon. And about a cup of steamed broccoli, steamed and chopped up. And then the all-star of the show, goat cheese. We're gonna put about 2 ounces of goat cheese in here. Just mix that together with our spatula. Before Daniel and I created Guiltless Superfoods, I actually used to make quiches for customers because not only are they loaded with protein, with all of the good healthy fats and the eggs, and then the vegetables, of course, that you mix in, but I never had a crust on them. They were always crustless quiches because we didn't have the flour. But now that we have this nutrient-dense phase 1 approved flour, you can put a crust on your quiche. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of scoop in my filling to make sure that I don't overdo it or have it plop all over me and make a big mess. And I'm gonna fill it to about just 1/4 of an inch left of the crust on top because the egg filling will rise and expand, and I don't want it to run over the edge. You know what? I think we're actually gonna use all of it, so we'll just finish by pouring it in. Perfect. I'll take my spatula to kind of even it out. Make sure the broccoli is all the way through, nice and even. And as you can see, there's just that little 1/4 of an inch lip on top of the crust, which gives plenty of room for that egg to rise. I'm gonna pop this in the oven at 375 for about 25 to 30 minutes. We'll be back when it's done. We're back with our quiche completely done, fresh out of the oven. We've let it cool for a couple minutes, but it's still hot. You can kind of hear it still cooking and doing its thing. We are going to just get a little slice here. You can see that the crust is kind of pulled away from the pan a little bit, so it's really easy to get out. It's not sticking at all. It smells delicious. You can still see the steam rising. I wanted to tell you, the crust has a beautiful golden brown color, and that is what you're looking for. Since the flour itself is kind of a nice light brown color, it's not a white flour, you're not going to have a white crust. However, if you do notice that your crust is starting to get pretty brown at about 25 minutes, you might just cover it with a little bit of parchment, or if you have a pie, cover a pie round that can kind of cover up that crust while the inside continues to bake. Go ahead and do that. You don't want it to burn. This cooked for the full 30 minutes in our oven, but make sure to watch it 25 to 30 minutes in your oven. I'm gonna take a bite because this is one of my favorite things I told you. You have the creaminess of the goat cheese, the savory bacon, the nice, delicious, healthy broccoli, and that crust is really nutrient dense and it feels good in your stomach. There's really a lot of value to it. I hope that you guys will make this recipe. It'll be on knowthecause.com. Go there and make it for your family and friends, and know that we love you. Thanks so much for watching.
My dear buddy, Nurse Jenny Herbacek now talks about the lump or the bump. Could it have been detected many years before? And then Dr. Marks Tingler answers a question, a drug or a supplement? Great segments, watch these.
Hi, I'm Jenny Herbacek with the Cancer Connection. I'd like to believe that someday allopathic medicine will realize that waiting for the lump and bump is not helping us win the war on cancer. Instead, we need to recognize that cancer is on the move long before we can ever find that lump or bump. So early that cancer is not such a scary thing, but something that can be managed and targeted with diet, detox, immune support, and non-toxic therapies. For specific information on testing that can detect cancer years before standard testing and imaging would ever find it, check out my website, www.cancerfreeareyousure, and click on the Media tab for free access to several interviews on the subject. For Know the Cause, I'm Jenny Herbacek.
You see my friend Dr. Marks Tingler sitting over there. I always love it when you're on here because I learn. You know, I sit here like a sponge and absorb. This is a man who has mentored me with regarding, you know, can you imagine writing a 10,000-page book, Prescription for Natural Cures? It's a book, a reference book you must have at home. Dr. Tingler is the author of that book. We were talking before we went on the air today about a guy named Mel Werbach. I don't even know if he's still alive. Very cool doctor. He's an MD, worked at UCLA, and he put together a compendium. It had to be 1,000 pages of psychological problems, health problems, and the deficiencies, nutrient deficiencies that existed in these patients. Then physiological deficiencies, vitamin deficiencies. And yet, boy, if one person gets a cold sore from vitamin C, that makes the headlines in medicine. Boy, you got to be careful of those supplements. Yet we're all taking them. And prescription drugs are killing people left and right. So, and that's a fact, folks. You know, medicine is now the third leading cause of death in America, right behind cancer and heart disease. So these pills, we've got to think our way through. Sometimes, Dr. Stingler, we need a blood pressure medicine. Maybe we need statins. I can't believe that came out of my mouth, but for a period of time. Where's your heart on, is there good enough science behind supplementation for us to believe in it?
Oh, absolutely. It really is a fallacy for anyone to claim nowadays that nutritional supplements don't have science behind them. I mean, Doug, we don't have dozens of studies. We don't have hundreds. We don't have thousands. We literally have tens and tens of thousands of studies. Now, granted, yes, like any other study in medicine, they vary in their degree of quality, but we have well over several 100,000 studies on nutritional supplements. So when I hear, a doctor say, well, I don't use nutritional supplements, they don't have the science behind them, I know they're ignorant. They have not looked at the evidence. And so it's interesting, when I write a lot of my books, I'll see what some of the conventional websites are saying, some of the more well-known brand names, and I'll look and they'll have some comments on supplements, and then they'll have warnings on side effects. And when I go to look at their references, they either don't have references, they're all theoretical, or the references, there may be some small animal study or something that wouldn't be considered credible with a pharmaceutical medication.
At least they're in 12 font. It's not like a drug chart where they're in 2 font and you got to get a microscope to look at the side effects of these drugs.
So Doug, can you have side effects with supplements? Absolutely. Are they common? No. They're extremely rare. I'll give you an example. I have a wealthy patient of mine comes to see me twice a year in San Diego. He has me run thousands and thousands of dollars of blood work. Why? Because he has this kind of hobby where he tries different nutritional supplements. We spend an hour, he brings his supplements out, puts them on my desk. And I'm not exaggerating, this is the truth. He takes about 125 to 150 supplements.
A week?
No, a day.
A day. Okay.
A day.
Okay.
So I'm not recommending that, but here's the point. The point is I track all his blood work, liver enzymes, kidney function, cardiovascular markers, everything. You don't find one abnormality. If these things were so toxic, why do we not see on lab tests, which I do with the vast majority of my patients, I don't ever see problems with liver or kidney function, things like this. I see the opposite. I see improved function, which just makes sense because, again, our body doesn't work by magic. All the enzymes require nutrients to work properly. All the biochemical processes require these nutrients. So with an American diet devoid of nutrients, with the pollution which wipes out our nutrients, with all the pharmaceutical medications that deplete our body of nutrients, the stress levels, it's a wonder most people do better when they get more nutrients in their body.
It's just words like selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, acid blocker. Maybe I don't want my acid blocked. The vitamin supplements, nutrients, amino acids, et cetera, minerals work with your physiology, as opposed to inhibiting or blocking your physiology. And folks, the road forks, certainly some people need supplementation or need medication, probably until they go see Dr. Marks Tingler. It's markstingler.com?
Yeah.
Still. Okay, fungus in your practice, a problem?
Big time.
Okay, good.
Big time.
I'm glad you're seeing that.
Every day in my practice, I have to address fungal problems with patients to restore their health.
What's a good antifungal supplement? Which one or two do you love most?
I get very good results with some of the more potent oregano extracts, caprylic acid, wormwood even can work good. Garlic extracts work really well.
And
probiotics, of course.
Of course, restoring the gut terrain. Boy, I could go on another 5 hours with you. Thank you for coming in today. It's so fascinating, folks. If you're on medications, talk to your doctor about titering them down and looking at good, healthy supplements that might work instead. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
Really good to see you again. As I study cancer more and more, it fascinates me, right? Every one of you watching this right now, your lives have been impacted negatively by cancer. We don't have a handle on it. Oh, there's no shortage of experts. Oh, there's thousands of cancer experts. But none of them know the cause, the right treatment, and nothing bad against them, folks. This is a terrible disease because it's multiple diseases. But what causes it? Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about genetics. Oh, I know you're sitting there going, oh, Doug, turn the channel. This is kind of cool. Did you know God gave us a Superman gene? a muscle gene. I mean, all we study is cystic fibrosis and childhood disorders and brain anomalies and cancer genes. The most studied of all genes is your Superman gene. It's in your cells, right? Let's go and start studying this. It's called a Superman, I call it. It's not called a Superman gene. It's called a P53 gene. And look at for 22, 23 years, according to the American Cancer Society, our P53 gene, you all have it, is the most studied of all genes because mutation of this gene allows cancer cells to metastasize. There are two things that when I talk to these doctors about cancer, everybody knows phagocytosis. That's when the white blood cells creep up on a cancer cell, zap it, digest it, boom, gone. Or bacteria or artifacts or anything in your bloodstream, right? The white blood cells, that's called phagocytosis. Why doesn't it gobble up fungus? Okay, we'll talk about that in another segment, but sometimes when you have a fungal condition, phagocytosis fails. The other thing we have is our Superman gene, right? The P53 gene, studied forever. The past 20, 30 years, it's all they've been doing is studying this gene. Why? Because a break in it enables cancer to metastasize. Sidebar, last year, or maybe earlier this year, 2017, scientists have moved the toenail fungus drug, Sporanox, from a toenail fungus drug, it's been repurposed as a cancer drug. It inhibits cancer from spreading. So when your P53 gene doesn't work, that drug Sporanox prevents cancer from metastasizing. Just telling you, so you can tell your doctor, if you have an isolated tumor in the breast, prostate, kneecap, talk to your doctor about starting on the drug Sporanox, S-P-O-R-O-N-O-X. And what happened to my P53 gene? Why didn't Superman come to my defense? Let's see. Fungus is absolutely kryptonite for Superman. The P53 mutation is identified, I think it's up to 55 or 60% of all human cancers. Let's talk about that for a minute. Over half of all cancers, have a mutation in what God gave us to protect cancer from spreading through our body. Now, I know what you're thinking because you've been watching Know the Cause for a long period of time. What happens there? What happens? How come my healthy P53 genes can't protect me? Superman's kryptonite happens to be fungus. Okay, let's keep going. What causes the P53 gene to mutate? There are several things they say, but here's a note that I need to make sure you see. Aspergillus mold is called kryptonite. This fungus makes a poison called aflatoxin that is known to cause P53 mutations. Read that one more time. Aspergillus fungus makes a poison called aflatoxin that is known to cause your P53 mutations. Folks, when you need that cancer protection most, I think the same mold, Aspergillus, that is mimicking or causing your cancer is also wrecking your defenses. Not only phagocytosis, but the P53 gene becomes mutated. Okay, so you're now saying, well, Aspergillus mold, I've looked around my kitchen, everything seems to be fine. You ready for this? They're finding, and they have found for 30, 40 years, Aspergillus mold impregnating most corn, a lot of peanuts. They're even talking about finding it now in our wheat supply. So people are thinking that they're gluten sensitive, they go off wheat and they feel much, much better, right? That might not be gluten. That's probably because Aspergillus mold impregnating these. The point is this. We are being commonly exposed to a fungus that makes a poison that's wrecking our ability to fight cancer. Keep your P53 gene strong. How do you do that? Lifestyle. Follow a diet that doesn't feed fungus. Contend with that lifestyle that you must deal with. It must change in order to get you better. I'm glad you now know this. Thank you so much, Dr. Ann Louise Gittleman. There is the phone number for the Fat Flush Kit, which includes the weight loss formula, the gamma-linoleic acid, and the multivitamin mineral. You know, this has sold and sold and sold through the years for a reason. It really works. Can you imagine coupling that to the Kaufman One diet? Wow. Then this little Get Started guide with a little summary, you know, a little diary on the back. How'd I do, what'd I eat, and so forth. Really like this whole approach. Thank you also, Dr. Marks Tingler. Thank you so much, Jenny Herbacek, Nurse Jenny Herbacek. Most importantly, folks, thank you for being here. God bless you. I'll see you next time.